AITAH for making my fiancé take his biological son with him every time he leaves the house. Update. Here is the answers to the questions. The kids' ages 9 years old and 11 years old. My bio child did not hear us having a dispute. We argued in the garage about 2 streets away from the house is the distance to give you perspective. The only way stepson would have heard this argument is if he followed us. The neighbor's house is extremely close to the garage and they did not hear any argument. If they did, they would have stepped in as they are family friends. What happened to bring up the discussion? The issue was the neighbor kids, and our kids were all playing. They were in bubble balls hitting off each other, play fighting. When stepson got in the ball, all the girls were gaining up on him. Stepson got upset. Everyone apologized for their actions. Stepson called his biomom prior. Instead of talking it out with his first, he calls his mom, which is fine. She's his safe space and with her most of the time. Our disagreement was over cell phone use. But, instead of biomom calling fiancé, she enters our house unannounced and blows up in front of all the kids. Fiancé and I biomom grabbed the kiddos and left. That's when the cops showed up. Stepson did not call them. I have never had cops called on me. This is something biomom has done in the past prior to myself. Stepkids were completely fine staying with myself and biochild until we became engaged 4 months ago. That's when things started to cause issues. Biomom consistently calls, text shows up over any little spat normal kids do have. Instead of having the kids discuss with us, she comes and picks them up. They get along like 2 peas in a pod otherwise. My child is far from perfect. She makes mistakes like any other kid. They are all very good kids. They always apologize if one hurts the other's feelings, vice versa. My child is more of a stick up for herself and is very opinionated but overly sensitive at the same time. We have experienced a lot of changes with moving, living together and multiple deaths in the family. Which is a huge and doesn't like fiancé due to, not her dad and wants her dad in her life. That's the main reason she is in therapy. I do take my child everywhere I go, even if it's to the grocery store a block away, and when stepkids are here I take them with. Neighborhood kids are consistently over and they have never heard us arguing or stated to the kids there have been conflicts or felt unsafe. Adults have conflicts and disagreements and resolve them. The voices were raised, yes, which is extremely out of character for us. We have never argued in front of the kids. The only arguments they have heard comes from biomom. We live in my house. I won't be moving out and have suggested he move out to keep the peace with biomom, and he says that does not solve anything. This is a hiccup that will resolve. The fiancé's parenting and my parenting are completely different. I am more of an on a schedule and structure, have a routine for bedtime, no cell phones and no eating in rooms, living room. Fiancé is more laxed and more of friends than parent, is the best I could describe this with stepkids. Which causes issues with my bio child. I have come laxed on parenting stepkids as it's a huge adjustment coming to our house and want them to be as comfortable as possible. We all spend time together with going places, watching Saturday family movie night. If there is arguing with them, I advise to go to their rooms and cool off, come back when calmed down. That is what I mean by stepping back on parenting. Stepkids have fiancé and their biomom. Unless things are completely chaotic in the household, I don't step in. It has caused issues with biomom when parenting the stepkids. Fiancé came out of the room saying they don't want you here, meaning me, which was not the case. This is something that was decided due to recent issue and stepkids constantly calling, texting biomom anytime fiancé leaves the house. Fiancé was separated, divorcing when I met him. I stepped back after he wanted to reconcile their marriage. He had a mental breakdown and committed himself in the hospital. His family reached out to me and helped him through the process. We continued to be friends and dated after him getting better and decided to completely step away as their marriage was toxic. Before I get started, here's a little background as to why. We have been together going on 4 years and have a blended family. I have my biological daughter 100% of the time as my child's father is not in the picture. My fiancé has his kids every Thursday to Friday and every other weekend. 2 weeks ago, my child and his child had a disagreement. We were outside discussing the issue away from the children and it got heated, but we resolved the issue and went back into the house. His child called biomom and she showed up unannounced, barged into our house and starts blowing up at us, telling us to get our fring sh*t together, and takes his kid and leaves. 10 minutes later the cops show up for a domestic dispute, which we explained to the cops. We were outside in the garage and his ex-wife showed up and took his son due to him overhearing us arguing. The garage is a distance from the house. They agreed that families will have disagreements and there was no domestic dispute. They left. My fiancé and I both agreed that he would take his kids with him, as there have been other issues of him leaving them with me, and they constantly call Biomom to either come get them or saying there's issues with my child and has caused a lot of problems with our household and Biomom. Tonight he had to pick his oldest up and asked if his youngest could stay, and I told him no. We discussed this and think it's best he takes them with him. He bursted out and said, "Come on, they don't want you here." Now he's giving me the silent treatment and saying it's my fault. So, am I in the wrong for telling him to take his kids with him anytime he leaves?